Fabian Zetterlund re-signs with the Ottawa Senators. Zetterlund signs a 3-year deal with a $4.275 million cap hit. He was supposed to be a restricted free agent, and he could have filed for arbitration this summer, but he decided, you know what, we don't need to do that. Let's just find a deal that makes sense for everybody. So now he won't be a UFA until 2028. So that gives him plenty of time to do those 600-pound deadlifts in Ottawa Senators colors. 600 pounds. So how did we get here? How did the Ottawa Senators get to a point where they were able to sign Fabian Zetterlund? Why did they sign him even though he only got 5 points in the regular season for them? And what does this mean for the Senators in this offseason? Let me explain. Let's rewind all the way back to the beginning of the regular season. This past regular season. Man, this season just ended. So Zetterlund starts the year in San Jose. It's his 3rd year with the team. He just had a 20-goal season for the first time in his NHL career. The year seems to be going pretty well, even though he's on a Sharks team that's not going to the playoffs. It gets to a point where the Sharks actually want to discuss a contract extension with him. So Zetterlund and his agent get an offer, and they're like, it's all right. They think about it. It's all right. There's some negotiating that goes on. And eventually, Zetterlund and his agent are like, you know what? Let's just leave this until the offseason. That gives us more time to get something done. But San Jose doesn't wait. They decide, you know what? We're better off cutting our losses here. And he ends up getting traded to the Ottawa Senators. Remember, the Ottawa Senators were supposed to be quiet at the deadline? And then all of a sudden, on the morning of deadline, they acquired Dylan Cousins from the Buffalo Sabres. And then 27 seconds before the deadline, I'm not kidding, 27 seconds before, the Sharks offload Zetterlund to the Ottawa Senators. So what's the big deal about Zetterlund? The fact that he can produce at 5-on-5 is a big deal. At the time of the trade, Fabian Zetterlund's 13 goals of his 17 at that point were at even strength. Only one Ottawa Senators player at the time had more goals at even strength. Tim Stützle. And don't let Zetterlund's size fool you. This dude could hit. He could run to the boards, reverse hits, all of that. This dude is physical. This dude had 115 hits at the time of the trade. Physical dude. Okay, so Zetterlund has the offense, and he can hit, so he should be playing a top 6 role on this team, right? Not exactly. So the Sens at that point, they make the Dylan Cousins trade. They put him on a line with Drake Batherson and David Perron. Batherson and Cousins, they're boys. They played together at the World Championship, and they just became fast friends after that. And then when Cousins gets traded to the Ottawa Senators, it's Drake Batherson who picks him up from the airport. So, yeah, those two are playing together. You already have Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle, and Claude Giroux on your top line. You end up with a good checking line with Ridley Gregg, Shane Pinto, and Michael Amadio, and I'm not sure you want to break that up. So that leaves you with the 4th line. Fabian Zetterlund, Adam Gaudette, and Matthew Highmore playing together. Funny enough, Adam Gaudette was also chasing a 20-goal season, so you got a whole bunch of the Sens offense on the 4th line at one point. Eventually, as the year goes on, Zetterlund plays up and down the lineup. He plays on the left, he plays on the right, he gets time with Tim Stützle. It is a little bit difficult for him to get some consistency, though. But what is helpful for Zetterlund is the fact that he is generating chances, and he's getting opportunities in the slot and near the net. That's something Ottawa desperately needed at the time, and you could argue they still do. Ottawa finished with the 2nd worst offense at 5-on-5. 2nd worst. And they didn't do well in high danger areas for most of the regular season. Those high danger areas, the slot area, that is where Fabian Zetterlund can be money if he converts on those chances. So in this scenario where you sign Zetterlund, you could put him on a line with Dylan Cousins and Drake Batherson. That ended up happening at some point during the playoffs. You could put him on a top line with Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle. That also happened. I don't know. I still feel a little weird about breaking up the 3rd line, but there are some options in the top 6 that could work well for Fabian Zetterlund. Now let's talk about that contract. $4.275 million AAV for the next 3 years. AFP Analytics projected a 3-year deal with a 3.915 cap hit. Evolving Hockey said 4 years at $4.803 million. So the contract ends up somewhere in the middle. You could do worse than $4.275 million. That's ideally what you want from a guy who should be able to put up 20 goals a season for you. And now we have the Ottawa Senators, who have almost $11 million in cap space as of this video. And they still have to figure out what to do with Claude Giroux. There are a few other pending UFAs, Adam Gaudette being one of them, Anton Forsberg being another one of them. But let's be real here. Claude Giroux is the big domino to fall. On a previous episode of the Chris Johnston show, CJ actually brought some optimism on that front. He doesn't seem to think that it should go sideways, that maybe this could still end up in a deal for Giroux and the Ottawa Senators. But sometimes you need a deadline or something to kind of light a fire under somebody's butt to get something going. I wonder if this is the deal that does it. Anyway, the Sens want salary cap flexibility any way they can. I keep bringing up Adam Gaudette, but like in the first month of the year, they kept yo-yoing him from the AHL to the NHL, and he was their leading goal scorer at one point. The Sens want salary cap flexibility, but that doesn't mean they won't spend. Of course, if they give some of that money to Claude Giroux, that definitely affects on what they could actually spend their money on. I would expect them to just make tweaks to their depth chart from here on out. Or, they could do a trade, move someone off the roster. They still have their first round pick for this year. That is an option if they want to do it, if they get someone of value in return. But yeah, don't expect them to be chasing any big time guys in free agency with the space that they have. If you were somehow thinking the Sens would be in on Mitch Marner this offseason, no. No, it's not happening at all. Oh, that's not happening at all. You could also use this clip to laugh at my face if that somehow ends up happening, but that's not going to happen. I still think the Sens are more likely to make a trade if they want to do something of significance to improve their roster. GM Steve Staios has used that avenue a few times. Remember last year when we were watching the Cup final and he traded for Linus Ullmark? Nobody expected Staios to make a move at the trade deadline, and he found a way to bring in Cousins and Zetterlund, basically doing money in, money out deals. So there is a world where the Ottawa Senators go through the trade route. And here come the comments saying the Senators should trade for Jason Robertson. I'm not saying they're discussing it. I know the fan base well enough. Anyway, Ottawa has Zetterlund locked up for the next few years on a nice bridge deal. They have themselves a nice depth scorer who can play in the middle six. You could put him in the top line if you need to. That's a guy who should be able to score 15, 20, maybe even more goals for the Sens going forward. All right, that's it for this one. Subscribe to the SDPN YouTube page and subscribe to the Chris Johnston Show. I hear Chris Johnston is a really nice guy. Bye, guys.